Welcome back to my keto kitchen. Today we're going to be making a nacho casserole, which is great for dinners, and I'm going to make it two different ways. One will be with cheese and the second one will be dairy-free. Since we don't like to eat a lot of dairy or a lot of cheese, I thought, this is going to taste good, but I want to make something that I can make most of the time. And so one will be dairy-free. So first we're going to start off with 8 ounces of pork rinds. And today I'm actually using my big food processor. Normally I use my small one. But since this is so many pork rinds that I have to process, I dug out my big one. And I probably haven't used this in a couple of years, so I had to wash it down because it's been in storage, we moved, and it just hasn't been used. So now I adapted this from a recipe that used nacho chips, and I'm using pork rinds instead. So I am adding a teaspoon of taco seasoning, my own taco seasoning. I will put a link to that underneath, and I'm also going to add a half a teaspoon of salt. But we're using 2 ounces of butter, which is 52 grams of butter melted. Again, this is not the dairy-free version. And we mix that up. And as I'm making these in a pie plate, so we will put the mixture in the pie plate, press it down. Now I'm going to use my fingers to press it down, my hands and my fingers. And I'll set this aside while I do the dairy-free one. Again, I have 8 ounces of pork rinds. So the pork rinds are all pulverized, and as in the one with butter, I do a teaspoon of taco seasoning, half a teaspoon of salt, and instead of butter, there are several alternatives. Right now I'm using, this is actually lamb fat that I have liquefied. You can use bacon fat, you can use coconut oil if you don't want to use bacon fat. So any non-dairy fat you can add. This just happens to be lamb. We had lamb last night and it'll be great. Mix that all up. Put that in another pie plate. So how I'm going to remember which is dairy and which isn't, the dairy will always be on my left. Be careful when you're using food processors. Those blades are very sharp. Now some people who are dairy-free can use butter, then go ahead and use butter. If I'm dairy-free, I just try not to use any dairy at all. You could use ghee, which is still dairy for me, so I don't use ghee. Now I will have links to separate recipes, one dairy-free, one where we use dairy. So you put these in the oven for 8 minutes, and while they're cooking, I'll switch out my food processor for my pan, and we're gonna get the other ingredients ready. So while the crust is in the oven cooking, I'm going to get the, first we're gonna do the one with dairy. So I have a pound of hamburger, and to that, this is 1 onion, 1 green pepper, 1 red pepper diced, and I'm going to use half of each for each casserole. So put half of the onions in, half of the pepper, green pepper, half of the red pepper. It helps if I turn the burner on. I have my little burner here that we're going to cook it. After it's cooked, I'm going to drain it. But in the meantime, I will get all of the ingredients ready. So we're going to, in here, I have 8 ounces of cheese. I'm going to put 4 ounces in the casserole, 4 ounces off. This is sharp cheddar, and then this is Monterey Jack, something combination. I don't exactly know what. I don't remember what. And you can be more creative with this. You can use different kinds of cheeses. You can use more cheese, and I'm using less cheese because, as I mentioned, we normally don't eat dairy, so I've chosen to use less cheese. You can use more if you like cheese. I mean, I like cheese, it just doesn't like me. And to that, we're going to add about a half a teaspoon of salt. Cheese usually has some salt in it, so half a teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of pepper, teaspoon of garlic powder, and a teaspoon of cilantro, more or less, depending on how you like it. I love cilantro. You could also add more taco seasoning if you like. We're going to have 1 small can of sliced black olives. This is 2.25 ounces. I love black olives too. And salsa. I normally make my own salsa, and I will put a link to my salsa recipe, but I thought, well, this time I'll just use store-bought. I read the ingredients. This one did not have sugar in it. It is the Walmart brand. I looked at the brand named ones. They all had sugar in it. This one is the only one that did not have sugar in it. I'm going to put half of this jar in there. It calls for 16 ounces of salsa. And we're just going to mix that all up. Now I'm using my little burner, and it takes a lot longer on this burner, but it's starting to get hot. So I will see you back here when this is almost finished. So the hamburger, or ground beef, does not have any pink left to it, and the onions are becoming translucent, so that's good. I'm going to I have a colander over a pan. I'm going to drain it because even though this was like 90% beef to fat ratio, there's still a lot of juice in it. So we're just going to put it in here and drain it. And while the pan is hot, I'll put the ground beef and onion in for the non-dairy and get that frying up. This will be a little faster because the pan was already heated up. Now you can add as much onion and pepper as you want. I will, just say this was a half an onion, a half a red pepper, half of a green pepper. With something like this, you don't have to have exact measurements. So we'll put the ground beef mixture in with the rest of the mixture. And we'll just mix this all up. Now this has cheese, so the cheese is going to help bind all of the ground beef and the other goodies. That's why if you wanted more cheese, go ahead and add more cheese. This is the crust with the dairy. So we just layer this on. And we'll put the remainder of the cheese on. And we'll get the second one going. The dairy-free, since there's no cheese to bind it, I'm going to put 2 eggs in. and that will help to bind it. And you have the teaspoon of cilantro, half a teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of pepper, teaspoon of garlic powder, taco seasoning if you want. I think chopped up jalapenos would be great, but I like things hot and spicy. If you don't, definitely leave them out. The salsa I got was mild, so my can of black olives and the rest of my jar of salsa. Mix all that up, wait for the burger to be done. So I'll set this aside. So the burger mixture is done. There's no pink left, so I'm draining it. Make sure it's all mixed in. As I said, you could add taco seasoning to this. It's going to depend somewhat on your salsa and how spicy it is. I know what my homemade salsa is, and I probably wouldn't need anything extra. I'm not sure with store-bought. I did not taste this before. So, put this mixture in. Spread it around. We don't have any cheese to put on top. I thought about doing something that my mother used to do. She had this baked rice that she used to make, which is absolutely amazing. And on top of it, she'd beat up some eggs, and she'd add some pecorino romano cheese. I had thought, well, what if I add some nutritional yeast? And I thought about doing it, but then it's like, you know, I'm going to try it this way first. This is my first attempt at a dairy-free. So they go in a 375-degree oven for 30 minutes. So we'll be back in about 30-45 minutes. I'll take them out and probably let them sit for a little bit before we try them. So half hour to 45 minutes, and we'll be back. So hey, I get to taste again. Why? Because somebody forgot to turn the mic on when I first tasted. So here is the dairy with the cheese, the dairy-free, no cheese. I did slices. Next time I'll probably just scoop them out. I'll try the dairy-free version. That's delicious. That is absolutely delicious. I don't even miss the cheese. So now the one with the cheese. That's good too. I don't think I'd like it with more cheese. I think I actually like the dairy-free one better. Dairy-free with cheese. No matter who, everyone will love it. It's keto. It's delicious. Try it.